build those capabilities. Those capabilities are deployed through that company, and that company will now help to overcome the frictions or the challenges which are evident in the market. As you build these companies in cross-market systems and territories, you are now helping to shape global economies from one country to the other. So as Nigeria builds companies that solve frictions in Nigeria, as Ghana does the same thing, America does the same thing, what happens? That the frictions in nations will begin to disappear. And as that happens, there are core elements for builders. We are all builders because we are the people who are building the businesses. We are the people who are building things in order for us to overcome the challenges and frictions that customers have. We identify 4 critical elements in building. We say you need to have knowledge. I mean, for Mama Kemi to be a good restaurant entrepreneur, she needed to understand the business of restaurant. She needs to understand how to make good soup, make a good soup and all the stuff, all the nice stuff. That means she needs to have a knowledge system within that particular business. If you are in the business of textile, or if you're in the business of making shoes, or in the business of getting digital payment system, you have to have knowledge capacities in that particular element. You know that knowledge is key, because the knowledge in your company, the knowledge company in your sector, the knowledge capability even in the country where you live, these things correlate with your capacity to actually make better products and services. And that means that if you look at your knowledge system, you can actually see how good that company will go. So that means that a key element in creating that product or service will actually correlate with your capacity to create knowledge and then deploy that and disseminate that knowledge into the market. Of course, that is also what we call the spirit of entrepreneurial capitalism. You need to be an innovator. That means you need to take risks. You look at things that never existed, and you begin to ask yourself, what are the protocols I need to go and fix that friction? And that means you need to take risk. You know, many, many years ago, as a junior staff in Diamond Bank, Nigeria, you know, when InterSwitch was just coming, somebody was, how do you now enable people to receive payments online? That was an entrepreneurial spirit. Somebody figured out, listen, we can be paid through checks. We can be paid through all the typical ways. The word of making the web an avenue for people to actually receive payment. So InterSwitch pioneered that in Nigeria and broad Africa, and that is an example of having that entrepreneurial spirit. Then you are also looking at capital. You need capital in order for you to actually acquire other factors of production you don't have. Then labor with the people. These are elements that are required for builders. You need knowledge. You need to be a risk taker. You need capital. You need labor. And all these things are now encapsulated under 3 cardinal things: the people, the processes, and tools. Remember, I'm trying to see how do we move into the opportunities. Remember the topic I'm talking about here. I said navigating new opportunities. My point is this: how do you navigate to new opportunities? Navigating to new opportunities will mean you need to go with products. You need to go with services. That means you need to build things that customers need, because you have to use products and services to prepare yourself, to prepare that company into abundance, because customers have frictions. And there is only one way of overcoming friction. If you studied integrated science in junior secondary, they say that to overcome friction, you need to apply and force. And in business, the frictions, the challenges that customers have, there is only one force that will overcome the friction of customers. And that is what? Products. Because a product is a force that overcomes the problems that customers have. A product or a service, depending on the specific domain that you operate. So we say that you have to build these elements, and then you organize them around tools, around processes, and people. The people in your company will correlate how far you go. The people we're talking about, the team. What are the tools that you are using? Those tools are also going to create competitive advantages for you. Are you still using typewriters? Or are you using word processing software systems in your computer? Are you now deploying AI systems instead of doing things in the old way? What are the processes? Are those processes done in a way that if somebody cannot come to work, another person can start where that person stopped yesterday? Or are those processes done in a way that there is no order? So these things are now going to be helpful because we want to get to one destination. How can you build a product or service that you can now begin an aspiration? I've done well in my village. I've done well in my city. I've done well in my country. And I want to go cross-border. Because when you are moving cross-border, many things have to happen. You're not looking at standards. You're looking at international frameworks. You're looking at protocols. You now need so many things. So you need to organize very well to get that going. So as that happens, I want to point out one thing. It is not idea that wins the territory. It is actually the ability to get things done. And if you look through companies, and if you look through economics, moving and expanding into the world or cross-bordering into the world, what does that is not just the idea you have. It's actually the ability to translate whatever you have into products and services. So if you look at Nigeria today, you may say, oh, we've got great, extremely highly educated workforce. But when you also look at the volume of trade we do at the international level, you may now begin to question, how can this extremely brilliant group of people have minimal impact in their level of export? So what I'm trying to say here is that overcoming the friction that customers has, it's not about writing articles or maybe postulating on the solution. Rather, you have to go and build those products and services. It's only when you build those products and services that is when the opportunities in the international scene will begin to happen. So we're looking at a solution economy over market frictions that customers in your local territory may have, and also customers outside of your local territory. Because what you are going to go into the international world to do is to sell them products and not just to talk theory. And I use this plot just to illustrate one thing. The illustration here is that the world is not built by just ideas. The world is built when those ideas turn into products and services. And that means the capacity to transition from invention to innovation. There is a very good difference between invention and innovation. And many organizations and companies, they are inventive in nature. They always come up with great ideas, but they don't have products and services. You may be a farm where the best ideas germinate or best ideas start, but if you do not have the capacity to turn those ideas into products and services, you will be doomed. With all due respect, one of the greatest companies in America, it files the largest and the highest number of patents every year, is possibly IBM. But if you look at the market capitalization of IBM, I think it's less than $150 billion. But if you now look at companies that don't even file as many patents like IBM, they can buy IBM and they will not even feel an inch. About 15 years ago, the market cap of IBM and Apple, Microsoft, they were nearly peers, around 300 and something billion, 200 and something billion. But today, these guys are knocking at 3 trillion. Why IBM is still stuck at 1? What is going on here? IBM is a company of so many ideas that they have not been able to build those great and services. So and that's the same thing that happened across human history. There used to be a time for centuries, America and China, their GDPs did not move for centuries. That means that more than 700 years, the GDP was flat. And if you go back to your fundamental elementary economics, what happens here is very critical. When GDPs are flat over generations, it means that poverty scales over generation. The people who lived here are poorer than people who live. We are poorer than people who live because population was increasing even when economic opportunity was frozen. And when economic opportunity is frozen, that means that GDP divided by population gives a per capita income. That means it was decelerated. And if it decelerated, that means that the world was living in a state of massive scaling of poverty and pain. But you know what happened? Check here. there was a translation. That flattened GDP for America started growing in an exponential way. China joined the same thing. Most parts of Western Europe joined the same thing. Unfortunately for Africa, we are still stuck in that lineage. In short, we are actually decelerating instead of being linear. And that is a very huge challenge. And that is also when we are discussing this cross-border payment, navigating into a world of opportunity. The question here is this: is it just talking or is it building products? America was able to start building products. China started making things. The point is this: beyond ideas, products fix frictions. And when products fix frictions, economies advance. If you studied agricultural science, you must have read about Verve Rewards. He made this postulation that over time, the food production was going in arithmetic progression while human population was going geometric progression. And his construct was that we're going to run out of food because the world population was just catastrophically destroyed the human race. They're good enough, things change. But it wasn't because people here were not smart. The foundation of physics, the foundation of chemistry, men and women who pioneered them, they lived here. But many of them died poor because there was really nothing. And that is what we are hoping, that we don't become a company of so many ideas, but who cannot turn ideas into products. They created compounds, they discovered so many things. But vaccines, they couldn't make. Polio came, they died. Tuberculosis came, they died. But these people created vaccine. So it's about a solution economy that can give us the opportunity to fix friction. And I'm trying to get into that construct of navigating new markets. You are going to navigate into new market with opportunities. And what you are going to navigate here is product. And if you cannot create new products, many, many things will not happen. We said that we've moved into a world that was inventive in nature. There was a time when many beautiful things, ideas, we move into the world of innovation. And I just added is recently what I called accelerated society area, where artificial intelligence, autonomous systems are now driving rapidly transformational impacts in the world that we live. So it's no more just automation and mechanization. You're now bringing things at a level that is supremely unprecedented. And what is going on here is the capacity to organize those elements, the factors of production, to create those products and services will scale. And that means that better products and services will be made. And when better products and services are made, we're going to see a massive economic translation. And typically when that happens, we can now see people expanding with opportunities, not just within their geographical domain, but actually see things as they scale over. So I would say here, two things will do this trick. We want to navigate and we want to move into new opportunities. We want to see how we can do things that are great, irrespective of the nature of the product or the service or whatever that we're doing in a business. We have just one way of doing that. We need to build. And if we build, I'm coming into how payment companies, cross-border payment system can support us. But a cross-border payment company, like let's say Verve, cannot really drive whatever you do if you don't have products and services. So the first thing for markets, the first thing for entrepreneurs, the first thing for all of us is that we have to build. Because the frictions in markets will be solved through products and services. And those products and services are things that we make, because those products and services are going to help us to overcome the frictions that customers have. All the challenges here are market opportunities. It's really very, very important for us to understand that. All the challenges that we see in this place, this world, these are opportunities. Interestingly, the more you find these challenges in any economy, the more exciting, ideally, should that economy be for people who are builders. Because that means that there will be opportunity to go and solve problems and actually make money. Because the perfect optimal state of the world should be As companies become better, become more advanced in fixing frictions which exist in economies, over a time, through the process, asymptotic continuing process, the world frictions will disappear. I mean, that's theoretical, of course, but the point I'm making here is that if we solve problem A, solve problem B, problem C, D, there's going to be a time where we will keep shrinking the opportunity space in an economy because most of these problems are solved. And if you look at it, it seems very plausible. You want to go and start an electricity startup in New York. What are you going to do there? They have electricity. They figured out 100 years ago. You want to do the same thing in London. Who cares that you are starting a tech company in the electricity space? They've done that problem 100 years ago. So the point is this, that products and services are actually the vehicles that will take us into a new realm of opportunity. And if we do that, beautiful, beautiful, massive things will happen. And now the question here is this: how do we now create those products? How do we now navigate into that new world of opportunity? You know, you can navigate into a new world of opportunity if you don't have a product service, because these are condition precedents that you must move. You know, it's not just, hey, I like Ghana. It's not just that I like United States markets. You have to go with a product. And we said there are really 4 plays in markets. And those 4 plays, of course, you need to have an idea that makes sense. You need an idea, because before the payment companies can help you scale or begin to earn beyond Naira or begin to earn outside your territory. If you are in Uganda, you want to earn in Nigeria. If you're in Nigeria, you want to earn in Kenya and other parts of the world. You need to actually have that product that will now help those customers to overcome their friction. So we say you need to have an idea. Of course, within that idea, you need to build a team. Building a team, I tell you, is the most important element in the market system, because you can have the best idea. If you can't get the human element together, nothing works. And the goal of that team will be to build a product or a service, depending on the one. And at the end of the day, it's encapsulated under execution. I always like to have this equation, and awesome products plus superior execution will give you a great company. There has never been a great company in the world without a great product. And you cannot have a great product without having a great execution. And if you want to build, to navigate opportunities in the world, where many, many, many people will now join that tribe of customer base that you have built. It comes down to 2 things. You build the products, you execute, and then you have a great company. And now, of course, you need payment partners, you need fintech partners, you need banking systems to now actually help you move into that new territory. But you have to have something that needs to be anchored. I've already noted that the relationship that you have built in that company, connecting the people, the team, the tools you provide, and the processes that you have built will be very, very catalytic. And of course, the processes of market systems, there are so many dimensions to it. It's not just even the internal processes that you have built. There are also elements of what is the nature of your native or local economic system. This is one area that, besides you just doing your stuff, I'm just on my own doing my stuff, you can also look at how can your industry or your sector come together, so that by pooling your power and networks together, you can actually shape how governments actually do what they have to do. Because at the end of everything, the processes, even not just in endogenous within your company, but exogenous outside your company, have a material impact on even what you can actually attend, not just in that country, but also within the external space. So let me give you an example. And in Nigeria today, we don't have a very good postal service. And it's so painful to me because, hey, listen, I grew up in a village in Ovim, in Abia State, and we had Ovim railway station. And when we were in the village, nobody really cared about going to city. Going to city for what? I mean, was not really useful because everything was in the village. There was a railway station, there was a very good postal service, life was just good. Now, one day they said you have to go to university. Left, and I got to get to where I saw people begging because they were not beggars in the village. I started realizing, oh, the world was not just like the way it was in the village. But there was something that over time changed. The postal service in Ovim disappeared. The railway station stopped working. And all of a sudden, a promising village that was a melting point of a nucleus, connecting other villages within that area in Abia North, started fading. Because the process that the nation Nigeria was to build and provide upon those entrepreneurs that buy Gary from Ovim Oriental Market to sell at the Enugu subway, people will buy Gary to sell at Aba through the railway station. So they'll buy Gary, they put it in the train, and they will go to Enugu sell, they come back. People were making lives so amazing. People were just happy. Guys, people were building small hotels very close to the railway station. People were building houses so that if you are traveling from a very far place like Ohafia, Abareba, where you cannot get a train station without sleeping over because of the time the train will leave, you can now go into the hotel, sleep, then the next day, the place was just booming. You know what? The Nigerian process wanted that development. Check across thousands of communities how the destruction of the railway system affected economic developments in that. So what am I trying to say here is this, that even as we build our process, we also need to take into consideration the processes within. I mean, you can call those things policies, but these are actually national processes. And those could be as potent and destructive, even as you are creating that product. Because I knew guys who now took loans from banks, came to the village to build so that people can rent, people can have hotels where they can sleep if they are coming from Enugu or coming from Kanu very late in the night and they cannot drive down to their own rural village. All those businesses have collapsed. And you also look at the postal service, for example, and you realize that without that connectivity between the rural and urban through the postal system, many, many bad things also happen. But if you look at comparatively, in a way, maybe using United States as an example, Amtrak, the railway system that America created maybe around 1970, 1971, 73. Amtrak has never made a profit since 1971 to today. And the US Congress has not shut it down. If you look at the US Postal Service, the US Postal Service has not made a single profit, at least in the last 20 years. They have not shut it down. But now when you look at what they are doing, they say the US Postal Service, you don't have to make profits. All you need to do is make sure that rural and urban America and supply chain system in America will remain strong. We will tax the economic activity you are enabling. And at the end of the whole financial year, if you have enabled 1 trillion economic activity, if we tax it, the 12 billion you are losing every year will be fine. So they see this thing in a comprehensive, integrated way. The same thing happens with Amtrak. We don't want people to start using donkeys or start walking because the train station is charging them very exorbitant. So they said, okay, let them make losses. Nearly 50 years, but we are fine because economic activity Amtrak is enabling. We will collect tax and then we'll be fine. And that is where we can now say, as we play in the business on the ideas, on the team, on the product, or the execution, the processes that we play and how we can actually influence that could also be very helpful to deepen our capacity in our local markets because we are navigating for new markets. That new market can actually be right in your country. It doesn't necessarily mean that all the new markets and opportunities have to be outside that country. And the more we open through better economic processes and systems within the country, the beautiful things that will happen. And as that happens, great things can happen in that economic system. And I said here that as you look at that, you can also look at the example of the postal service, because we're looking at opportunities here. We're looking at markets. We're looking at how do we sell more, how do we capture more opportunities, and how do we do amazing things. Postal service connects rural and urban. And there were so many catalytic things, especially when you look at digital payment systems. You know, many decades when Amazon, in the United States launched, Amazon didn't really pick up. It was just nothing so exciting that you go and buy something and wait for 7 days for it to be delivered. Amazon didn't make progress. So they now lobbied the US Congress to remove what they call sales tax if you buy things online. So John McCain, former Senator John McCain, is late now, and all of them now said, okay, let's make it possible that if you pay online, you don't have to, company does not have to collect sales tax. But if you go to the store physically to pay, you have to pay sales tax. So by that single legislation, payment companies and platforms were not required to collect sales tax. You know what happened? Everyone started buying online. Because if you buy a dishwasher of $1,200, sales tax, if it's 10% or 8%, that's taking you off around $100. But if you go online, you buy it, you save your $100. Of course, they will ask you to self-report yourself during the tax filing. No, who does that? You self-report yourself. No, who does? So at the end of the day, people started going online. That is also an example how processes, basically policies, can actually stimulate new markets within an economy. In other words, you don't really need to think too much of it, that a government policy, just like it did, that an e-commerce company in America now picked up as a result of that single, then of course, over time, they now return the sales tax to the digital space. So the key is innovation. And that means we need to figure out how to build. And building means not just building for our community, but building for the world. Because if you are looking at the whole construct of going cross-border, you need to now look at standards and going with the best possible product or service that you have. Here we've noticed 4 critical things. Because remember, the great companies in the world do not just play at the needs of customers. Every company want to solve the needs of customers. These are the things that customers know they need. You give it to them. But you are not ever going to be a great company. You need to solve not just the needs of customers. You need to meet the expectations of customers. But the greatest companies among us do not just meet the needs of customers. They don't just stop at the expectations of customers. They shape the perceptions of customers. So the needs are things I know I need. You give to me, fine, I pay. My expectations are you've met my needs, but I wish you could have also done. But what of a scenario where you give me something I've never imagined the possibility? The day I see that, I will be more than a customer to you. Let me make it using, and actually I use InterSwitch a lot in this case study here. I mean, you have a electricity company that provides you electricity with coal, and you are an environmental activist living in Enugu. And let's assume they give you electricity with coal. They have met your needs, they give you light in your house, but they have not met your expectation, because as an environmental activist, you would have expected the electricity to come from renewable like solar or wind. But the day somebody comes with solar or whatever and tells you the same price, the same quality service, but now it's no more coming from coal, it's coming from, renewable. There is that tendency that you leave that company that was providing that from coal to now renewable energy. But it goes beyond expectation. And I'll give you 2 cases here. And maybe 3. The first one here is, we're still in college, and there was this company called Diamond Bank of Gold. in the old Nigeria, I'm trying to just get us into the thinking of this navigating to the new markets. What are the things that are involved? It's not just you waking up in the morning, say, hey, I have done well, let me open a place in Ghana, no. We are saying that you need to innovate. And that innovation is bringing a new basis of competition. And how do you innovate? You need to drive perceptions in the minds of your customers so that when you move into that new market or new territory, they know that the Baba has come because you are coming with a new game in the market. And that new game is what will give you recognition. So perceptions in customers. The old Diamond Bank, the real Diamond Bank of old. Before then, in Nigeria, if you have money in a branch of old Union Bank or First Bank in Kano, and you travel to Lagos, you run out of cash. There could be Union Bank or First Bank in front of you. You go there to collect money and say, no, you have to go back to that branch in Kano. Because that branch in Kano has no relationship except the logo and the name with the one in Lagos. So you have to return back to Kano to get money, even though there is First Bank and Union Bank. Diamond Bank invented the Diamond Integrated Banking System, unifying all the branches through satellite. In short, when I was a student in Futo, I read about it. I was going to work in this bank because it was really so cool. Because I used to go spend nearly half a day to help my elder brother working in the oil industry to collect money in Old Union Bank at Aba Road in Port Harcourt. And anytime you go there, it was the full day. And he would always send me because he knew I had no, I was just an IT student in Futo and you can just waste all your time and everything. But I said, bank could do that? It was so amazing. What did they do? People might not have asked for this, but they created a perception that your banking system could change. And you know what happened? Other new generation banks, of course, were built. And in the space of 3 years, their business model was so catalytic and impactful that all the finance banking institutions you have in Nigeria, from Zenith, Access, and all of them, they were GT Bank, they were created within a period of about 3-4 years, 1989, 91, 92, 93. And at the same time, they changed banking and made it possible that irrespective of where your branch is, provided it's the same bank, you can run your account. They solved armed robbery on Nigerian roads in a better way than Nigerian police. All those armed robbery, attacking businessmen with cars between Ore, Ibinirs coming from Lagos on nature, those things disappear. Not because Nigerian police was better, but just because they innovated out armed robbery, disintermediated them through a better payment infrastructure, which was what? Hey, you just go with a piece of paper called checkbook. When you go to Idumota, you go and cash money, go to market, buy. If you have extra cash, put it in buy, come with your checkbook on the chain, up your wake, and that's it. If armed robbers stop you, they don't see any money, and all of a sudden they give up because you've taken them out of the business. So later on, also, we can also look at what, using a case study of EnterSwitch. You had this guy, you wanted to pay him. There was just no way you pay him because, you had to use payment online. And they created this solution that made it possible. I think it was Quick Teller. I think that was one of the foremost ones. That time you needed to pay $1,000 equivalent to even have to be onboarded, because we did it with Fast Micro. So, and they will insert some codes and you start receiving money. Even when you are sleeping, you can just wake up. Depending on how you sleep, somebody has paid you when you wake up. It was really awesome. And that means that your store was open 24/7. You didn't have to only depend on, hey, you need to pay me when you can just be sleeping and somebody will receive money. That's an example of perception products. And there is one characteristics you can see. The key part is that we are all serving consumers. That if we do very, very well, some of those consumers will become customers. And if we do really, really great, we create fandom. Fandom is when you now turn your customers into fans. That means your customers now become a tribe. They believe in you so much that they can't just do without you. They have become a tribe in the market. You've created a fandom, and they are fanatical because you have innovated. When you are going into a new market with that mindset, when you are going with a product with that mindset, you know what happens? You create fandom. Fandom will create the best possible path for you to win. But fandom cannot come without innovation. We've identified 4 characteristics of how these type of companies are built. They are called category king companies. Category king companies are companies that are the best in their business categories. So you have got industry sectors and markets. You get energy sector, but within energy sector, you can also have subcategories. Like you have the wind category, you can have the solar, you can have even coal. These are all in it. Then you come into fintech space, you can have paytech, you can have lending, these are all categories. To be a category king means you are the best. We said you need to perceptively innovate, because these are key for entering into new markets. And there is also called evidently inspiring. If you use the products, you are going to be inspired because that product works. It makes you happy. And we say customer obsession. Customer obsession is the mindset of, I want to do better than I did yesterday. I want to keep pruning the saw, making sure that we are getting better daily. When I came to the United States, they used to deliver packages. You wait for 7 days, all of a sudden they move it to 3 days. Then now this is Amazon stuff. Amazon now say 3 days was like eternity. They move it from 3 days to a day. Now there are times they even move it to an hour. Same day, 6 months. Now it's like they keep getting obsessed how to make sure they deliver. And of course, ruthless pragmatism. Have you ever seen a child serving Indomie noodles? This thing they created out of nowhere. Look at English literature in Nigeria. I studied in Futo. There was a department called Food Science and Technology. I've asked some of my schoolmates, I studied electrical electronics. So when you are studying, did you read anything about Indomie noodles? Literature in 1980s? Say, man, if you look at most literatures in food science in Nigeria, this thing called noodles, it's just a new thing. But you know what has happened? These guys at Indomie noodles, they created an entirely new food category from scratch. And they innovated to the extent that, how can you be a working mother without having a strategy to have Indomie noodles for your kids? Because it's faster to make, it's fairly nutritious, and sharp, within 7 minutes or so, food is ready. Unlike, your yam, your fufu, and your gari, where you really need to at least be trained on building muscles to actually pound the fufu. So the point is innovation with, and that is actually the reason why the guys who started this Indomie stuff, they are entering new markets and they're doing amazing things. But of course, globally at international level, you can also see great companies that shown this level of perception. But you need to have your own game. I don't want us to be looking at the whole cross-border opportunity from the angle, it's just to go in and hire a consultant to check what. No. Are you going there with a product that is distinct, differentiated, that will enable you to win customers, instead of you going in there after 3 years, you wasted all your money, and you just realize that, hey, it's not going to work. They're going to launch a new product, and Apple has a date in New York. And all of a sudden, across most parts of New York and America, most young people will say, sir, I will not come to work next week. Say, what is going on? He said, hey, there is going to be a new iPhone. I want to go and pick mine in Best Buy. What is going on? Young men are going to take days out of work, a day out of work. Some of them are paid hourly. That means any day they don't go to work, hey, they don't get paid. And it's going to abandon earning income as early as 3 a.m. I mean, the old glorious days when getting iPhone was like a classified stuff. They will queue waiting for Best Buy to open at 8 or 9 a.m. Already there by 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And when finally the guy enters, he will pay his salary for 2 weeks just to get a phone. And then the next few hours, he will be tweeting and Instagramming or TikToking, explaining onboarding. Those guys are not customers. They are fans. And they become apostles for Apple, evangelizing the magic of the iPhone. When a company gets to that level of having fandom in customers, that company grows like a baobab tree, and you can win territories in markets. And that is what we need, because innovating for a new market requires going with a very great product. I think my time, just want to make sure that keeping all the time. So how do we now look at this? Say three things. This is how you build great products. And this is how you build great company. And this is how you move into and navigate into a new market. Your payment processor, your payment partner is coming. I'm going to go into that part of that conversation. But you need to have a new basis of competition. What is new basis of competition? It means you need to do things differently so that your comparison with others, there could be a distinctive differentiation. I have said you need to follow an orthogonal path. Every person is following this path. You need to create your own path, orthogonally. And what does that mean? It means when you have your game plan, there will not be a need for anybody to compare what others are doing with yours. There is a race. Let's run from Lagos to Port Harcourt. The race, one guy comes with a horse that runs 23 miles per hour. Another person comes with another horse that runs 27 miles per hour. Then you come with a jet fighter that runs thousands of miles per hour. In that case, we say there is no more basis of competition, because what you are coming for this race is totally out of order, in multiples to whatever every other person is coming. You have won because you have disrupted the basics framework for benchmarking competitiveness. That's how great companies. And then there is also, because we're talking about digital space largely here, and also not just online. Economies of scale is key, but marginal cost is supreme. What is marginal cost? It's the cost of producing additional units for a product. You must have done that in your secondary school economics. The secondary school economics was seeing this thing that looks an average fixed cost. Just typically, it's beautiful stuff. If your growth continues to expand, the number of products you produce in a factory, the cost per unit of that product drops. Of course, like if you have a factory that you make 200 products, the cost per unit for one product could be $10 or 10 naira. If that factory can make 2,000 products, there is that tendency that the cost per unit can less than now run to 6 naira. What is happening here is that as the output increases, cost per unit drops. This is very, very important, because you are now sharing fixed costs. You are sharing so many things that the marginal cost gives you competitive. But also, if the products continue to scale, you will reach optimal marginal cost. That means that your cost per unit begins to go high. That means you are losing marginal cost efficiency. You don't want to operate anywhere here. And that what happens? That means you are producing more in that economy than required. And that you are losing competitiveness on your marginal cost. That's what consultants do. You have 10 branches. They say it's not enough. You need to add extra 5. You add extra 5. You don't realize that you are losing money. They say, okay, reduce 3. You now come down to 12. You know, that's business. You fire, you hire, you fire, you hire. What is going on there? You are trying to optimize your marginal cost. You, as an entrepreneur, you as a merchant, you want to scale. You want to go international. What is your scalable advantage? What is your marginal cost positioning? These things are going to be very, very important. And you cannot really grow. You cannot really expand profitably without improving your marginal cost. So I think there will be an extended lecture I will record, and you can see a better explanation of this marginal cost. Let's not make it too academic here, but one thing I will say here, there are companies that have demonstrated the ability that even as they scale, even as they grow, they have overcome the marginal cost limitation. So for instance, if you look at Facebook, if you look at Ireland, as they scale their business, they don't have any problem of marginal cost. Because this is like a virtuous cycle of a networking effect that compounds, that actually use something amazing. So we say that most digital platforms do not have the typical marginal cost problem, because the cost per unit that any additional user of Facebook, or let's say in Ireland, just using the platform in Nigeria, keeps dropping even as they keep expanding and adding more users. So if you study further mathematics in secondary school, this is what we call asymptotic relationship. That's a relationship where this line does not touch this in the final space until it gets to the infinity. That means that as this company is scaling, the cost per unit drops. And if your cost per unit drops, you know what happens? You are going to be very great, because that means that your product pricing will automatically do better, because your cost is dropping in perpetuity with the scaling of your business. Now, the last part is perception innovation. I've already explained that. You need to create fandom. And that fandom is what will win markets. If you not have the ability to create fandom, you cannot easily achieve that great thing. And look at a company like NVIDIA, you see that they use new basis of competition to take Intel down and all these other competitors. And if you look at some of companies like Apple, you could see that marginal. And even if you look within Nigeria, you see there are strong brands, pioneers, first mover advantage. And I mean, we, just like Verve, and looking at, I mean, I think it's really the only indigenous one there in Nigeria and most parts of Africa. And it has basically, I mean, created its own kind of, that there is really nothing locally that you can use to compare it. And that is how to create that new basis of competition. Now, but how do you build and sustain that? You know, we are all techies here to a large extent, because every business in the world is a technology business. No matter what you're doing, I want to say that we are all takers. Reason being that there is no business you do in the 21st century that is not anchored on technology. If you want that business to actually give you the opportunity to go and win in a new territory, to go outside and compete and have an option to win. The point here is the hypothesis that you can, without technology, to create that differentiation and competitive advantages in the 21st century, it does not exist. You don't even have to worry about it. So in the grand scheme of things, that your business has to be tech. The best banks of the future will be technology companies that offer banking services. The best insurance companies of the future will be technology companies that offer insurance services. Forget about banks that use technology. No, it has to be the other way. Forget about insurance companies that use, it has to be tech that use insurance. Before Alipay had problems with the new evolved Chinese policy, Alipay was bigger than Goldman Sachs in market cap. I mean, you can just see new generations of all these technology companies taking an asymmetric power compared to the old order of financial services. That means that the future is going to the anchor of tech. And why is that? I want to explain why you need to pay attention to tech, because the future of fixing frictions in the market will always go through technology. And I take you back to my secondary school, and my teacher, Mr. Aham, he came into school one day, and we just finished our junior secondary. I know we have 3 hours here, so I think I'm just getting into 1 hour, 30 minutes or so. So we still have to allow me to just to take time, because we have 3 hours for this program. So we still have about more than 1 hour ahead. So explain to us that before the end of the 18th century, that the material component of the universe was studied at one aspect of culture called natural philosophy. And he explained about the whole construct of natural philosophy, biological science, physical science, physics, chemistry, biology, so substances are properties of the energy, relations to matter, and then the beautiful science of numbers, mathematics. Then we got to Futo. It was this Professor Ashiebu, a Reverend Father. He came in. He was trying to talk about big stuff. You know, it's no more the usual things of secondary school student. He was explaining things at a bigger level. He asked question that day, can you explain the components of the material component universe? What is this world made up of? And during that class, it was a logic and philosophy class, first year in university. He explained how Greek philosophers have explained the world. From the time of Thales, the world is water. Time of Heraclitus, the world is fire. To Pythagoras, who said the world is numbers. That's where I'm going. Pythagoras believed that everything we do, that the world is nothing but numbers. And he believed, and his hypothesis and his postulation is, if the world is nothing but numbers, the business of humanity is nothing but numbers. And anybody who builds a protocol or a system that is anchored on numbers will have a competitive advantage. In other words, if you run a retail business, a shoe business, a tailoring business, and you are not using numbers to anchor it, he's saying that you will not understand what you're doing and you cannot be prosperous. You cannot be successful. And across our history, human history, building, making sense of numbers has turned out to be the business of humanity. So, from the time of Abacus to slide through to difference engine, innovation of transistor, von Neumann architecture, to the innovation of transistor, to integrated circuits like Robert Noyce and Jack Kirby, we have been seeing this evolutionary phase of semiconductors, computers, soft blockchain. You can see there are some that were eliminated there, but at the end, we're now moving into AI. AI is nothing. AI is still saying, listen, if we can help you to understand the data around your business, if you can help you to understand what is happening in your business, you have a higher chance of being successful, because through the numbers in your business, which is what you call data, if you make sense of that, you have more promise. So, and this is also where now getting into payment system, getting into cross-border stuff, are you really understanding the numbers in your business? Is your payment processing technology, is your bank helping you to make sense of what is going on? Where are you making more money? Are you making more money on the services, or are you making more money on the real hardware product? I mean, how much are you spending? Where are you improving your scalable advantage? That means you can scale, not just grow. The real deal here, the numbers around those things, if you make sense of them, will actually help you to do better. And if you look at human GDP, you see how the world has grown. That as these technology evolutions, they continue, going to see that the world keeps expanding economic opportunity. That means that the world is full of abundance. The problem is, it is becoming increasingly challenging to actually capture value if you are not linked into that tribe, and that tribe is the tribe of technology. What do I mean by that? You can just put in one code and you are sleeping like we did many years ago. And you wake up in the morning, somebody has made payments on your website. In the past, you would have needed to go to a P-Waker or the Oriental Market in Ovim and be asking customers to buy. But now, technology has made it that even when you are sleeping, people are buying. But if you don't want to do this, you are depriving yourself the opportunity of capturing value. That is the point. Tech will drive efficiency in the utilization of factors of production and also unlock a massive opportunity for those who participate. And that navigating their future, no matter what you do, you need to consider technology. Of course, as you do that, you also need to pay attention. I call it the invisible hand. I mean, Adam Smith called it the invisible hand. What I'm saying here is this. This is now where the markets work. But let's not go because this is not within your power. This one is within the states or the country. But this one is within your power. And that is also the reason why how you collect payments, or because I put a lot of emphasis on payments and banking, because everything we do in business, so at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing: have you been paid, or how are you going to pay? Forget about every other thing. It's all about money. I mean, it's all about money. Kudi, or is it Kudi? So Kudi, well, so it has to be ego. You have to figure out how you going to be paid and be paid. And that is what it turns out to be. But that is also how you make your profit. And as we now move into that payment part, I would say revolves around your business model. And business model is the logic of your company, is the logic of your business. It explains how you make money. It explains the real deal why you're in business. I mean, we have all the strategic objective. But if you have a strategic objective, you want to save the world. If you don't figure out how to make money in that process, you're going to run out of money one day, unless if you're a charity. Even if it's charity, you can run out of cash. So business model and tech will be very, very important as you navigate to move into that next frontier. Let's not make it very complicated here. What is a business model? You want to move from Lagos to Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt, getting to Port Harcourt is your aspirational vision in a company. Let's assume it's aspirational vision. That's where your destination. If you get there, you mean that that company has done what you set it out to do. But you get to Lagos to Port Harcourt, you need to do something. We say that you need to now have a business mission. That means you have to make that travel. And that is now step by steps. What do you need to do to get there? But doing that profitably, you need to come up with a business model. So what do they usually do? A group of men and women get into a room. They call it boardroom. They sit down. They are trying to look at all the available factors of production. I mean, the things that are available to them to create products and services. They're also looking at who are their customers and what are the operating conditions in that market. They need to architect the best way to serve those customers, and in the process, they make money. That is going to be the outcome of their strategic decision planning or whatever. At the end of the day, they have to pick a business model. So in the real sense, the boards of companies select CEOs and executive management to commit a company to a business model. Well, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this because most times businesses fail, not because those businesses are not good. It's just because the leadership did not run the right business model for that. I'll give you some examples. If you look at, let me use Microsoft as, for years under Steve Ballmer, look at the position in the stock market was around 300 something billion for years. They changed him and brought in a new CEO, Satya. And just in less than 6 years, that moved from 336 billion to a trillion. And now I think they are over. Yeah. He changed the business model of that company. And you can also see when IBM was losing 22 consecutive quarters losing money, they changed the CEO. Within the next few months, they started growing revenue. The same product, the same service. So for you, that business you have been struggling, and you may be blaming your product, you may blame your service. Have you considered if your business model could actually be the reason? It turns out that most times the problem is actually the business model. And you are running a subscription business model. Is that right? Or pay and carry or freemium model? There are all kinds of these business models, so many aggregation. In short, if you look at the digital companies in the world, the top online companies in the world, online, about 80% of them run aggregation business model. And there is also one I recently postulated in Harvard. I call it the one oasis and the double play strategy, where you make money may not even be what people know you for. A company like Amazon, it's an e-commerce company, but it doesn't really make a lot of money through e-commerce. It makes money through Amazon Web Services, which is their cloud hosting business. But without the e-commerce business, there will not be a cloud hosting company. You can also look at a company like InterSwitch. We don't know because it's not a public company. But you may be surprised that the Verve may make tons of money than the quick teller, but without the quick teller, it may not be Verve. So what I'm trying to say that when you look at your business model, you can run on one oasis and have a double play. These are things that at the end of the day, you can actually build a business that will be very, very successful. And that when you have that, we can now take up the compass to now start going across the border because we have done the necessary things that we need to do in our local home markets. Don't just go if you have not done those little things. Understand in that new market what you need to do. And most times, I'm hoping that maybe companies like InterSwitch Verve, they will have consultants that somebody can speak with or experts to help you understand the psychology, the cultural nuances of the customers so that you know the best business model you need to run. The business model they run in northern Nigeria should not be the same you run in Lagos all the time because Lagos is a totally different country in quotes within Nigeria. The one you run in my village is not going to be the one you run in your village. So at the end of the day, we need to have that capacity to understand how culturally, even how customers perceive value, because the value we're talking about is not based on the absolute price of a product. We're talking about the perception of value rated at a certain price point that your customers can see and say, hey, this is the real deal. I'm going to pay for it. This is using a little bit of computer science stuff here, operating system for unlocking that cross-border growth. Using the computer terminology, you have the firmware, you have the operating system, you have the apps. You don't have to worry about that. But the key point I'm making here is that the financial services or payments, they are actually the operating systems that will help companies to actually unlock growth. The way you run your payment, the way you run your money, the way you manage your financial services, the way you run everything about money, these things are actually as powerful as anything that will help you. That is a ceiling you can attain if you do not optimize very, very well. Payment, financial services, they are not just things you just wake up and say, hey, they need to drive competitiveness and innovation in what you do. Just like if you start your laptop, the first set of those little things you see at the what we call the BIOS firmware level for electrical engineers. Then they'll hand over to your Windows or your iOS or if you're using a phone like iOS and then Android, then on top of those things, you now build stuff like your apps. The same thing happens in business. You got your talent, your knowledge. Those things can really work when those financial elements support And then on top of those things, you can build your logistics e-commerce. How many people have you heard that the way they took a bank loan destroyed their business? How many people have you let the bank partner they use destroy them? How many times? So the real deal here is that we don't really consider the implications of how integrated most of the things we do in business could be linked to financial services. And that means that when you are now trying to go international or cross-border, it's also very important that that operating system that can help you, you see how you can play and marry. And then the age of cross-border is so huge, especially in Nigeria. Yeah, I mean, trying to round up here because of time, just like there's some questions. It's now beyond Naira. You need to earn money outside Nigeria. If you cannot, I can tell you, you don't have a mission. Things have gotten so terribly bad because of the way Naira has lost value. So Naira, Nigeria has underperformed to a large extent. Look at the stock market. I'm not sure it's up to $80 billion, but South Africa's stock market is at least 1.2 trillion. How can you, the giant of Africa, gentlemen and ladies, you are just less than 80 billion, while South Africa is more than $1 trillion in their stock market? Look at our currency. It has just turned out to be something that you don't even want to hold. The revenue of our national revenue is about 100 billion less than what South Africa collects. Our national budget is less than 100 billion what South Africa budgets. Yes, South Africa is just 30 to 33% of Nigeria's population. They are budgeting more than 100 billion. They're collecting more revenue. Their stock market is more than 10 times our own. Our currency is nowhere. So the issue there, if you are operating in this environment, what are the things you need to do? Because we are talking about there is a need to now go beyond Naira. I mean, please, don't get into this, the market in Nigeria. I'm just a teacher here from the village. So I'm just saying it what I know. So don't get emotional. I'm just sharing facts, data, because we are business people. So we have always have errors. The 1990s gave us the new generation banks. We move into the era of voice telephone. When MTN, Glo, Econet, whatever, all of them were called, we now move into the era of mobile internet, the 2010. We are in the application utility era. We're going to see sectors and also now building solutions beyond Nigeria. Now, as that is happening, it also comes down to competitiveness connecting to new markets. And how do you connect to new markets? You have to be paid. You have to be paid. Because at the end of the day, one thing that unifies everything we do in market is money. Since during the Dynasty, dynasty, the Chinese, Mongolia dynasty, we just go through the history of money. One thing has been consistent. How can we be paid better? How can we receive payment at a better speed? So you're looking at speed, efficiency, and value. Looking at these things, how do you get paid? Payments will always drive that cross-border payment. So there are things I want us to just consider. So I round up here just for time's sake. It's very strategic that you think of cross-border if you're importing raw materials, because you need to earn foreign currency. And interestingly, when you do that, you have some hard currency to help you import whatever you have to import. And there are also things that when you look at cross-border, emerging opportunities. Look at businesses like remittance, e-commerce, companies like Jumia. I see all these startups everyone is doing remittance now because everyone is trying to make some foreign currency. There are drivers which are actually changing to redesign. Look at digital wallets, banking as a service, where you could be in Nigeria, you have a bank account in US through a fintech company. Also have the powers of blockchain, how it's helping stable coins. There are guys now who are trying to have Naira coin, stable coin. But of course, there are huge challenges. Our currency fluctuates. And when currencies fluctuate, boards, executive management, they struggle. Because every day their projections will be thrown out. With all due respect, look at multi-choice, what they reported just a few days ago, the difficulty. We are learning that because it's a publicly this thing that we can see their books. So it's painful. Then they look at transaction costs. How much is it costing you for that cross-border? Looking at compliance issues. You don't want to get into a position where they freeze your account in Kenya because you're trying to do a cross-border. So you need to work with a payment company that makes sure you don't get into that. Of course, there are also issues of fraud and returns. That's where expertise and experience matters. So you just need to make sure that you work with the right partner. Currency management and FX strategies. Yes, within the space of these fluctuations, there are also opportunities for experts to help you manage risk. So you go to your payment partner, can help you manage risk. So they can create multiple wallets for you. When the money comes in, it's converted into maybe dollar, euro, British pounds, and so, or even you have to look at those things. And then currency hedging. There are also ways you hedge forwards and options. You doing these things, you may think they don't have to cost too much, but it's all about the company or the partner that you select. Cross-border is not a place where you just walk in without having a plan, because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose 20% of your money because you've not managed it well. So for instance, again, told that, is it how many billion naira that MultiChoice is writing off from the failure of Heritage Bank? Imagine if you go to open a business in Ghana and you have made $1 million, and one afternoon, that money is gone because either the fintech company collecting it from you has disappeared, or these are things you need to take, and you need to have a plan for them. That's the point I'm making. Then develop a strategy very, very well on those things. Now, selection of payment providers and technology solutions, and compare banks, look at your fintech, look at digital wallets on cost, speed, and customer experience, and also look at payment rails like SWIFT, SEPA, blockchain. There are things you have to also look at regulations, and because are you operating that platform, the anti-money laundering, KYC, data protection, GDPR, or the local equivalent, you need to pay attention to that. And so solution is key. And I mean, just using Verve here, InterSwitch, you can see that, they've created a lot of great products. I think basically the only one that offers that in our part of the world is the solution is innovation with I said global playbook. Well, that word global means global and local in one. They understand, let's say, Nigeria locally, they understand locally, and they also understand the African and the global angle. And that can help you drive how you essentially navigate that world of cross-border, and now connecting us to where we began, which was, hey, navigating new opportunities through products and using a payment company that we can work with to connect us. And I'm hoping that maybe the Verve team can, the extended aspect of this masterclass can now explain how they can actually help participants here to navigate into that, the kind of products they have. I know they have a lot of them, and how you can connect to that. So thank you so much. That's what I will stop now so that we can have the answer, because I think I've spoken really a lot. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. I mean, that was very, very detailed. So thank you so much for making our time. Just quickly, we'll go to the Q&A. Just checking that we have some for Prof. So Prof, just one question here for you. It's about what role all of this.
I can't hear you very well. Maybe is it from me only? Mm. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Mm. I can hear.
can you
Okay.
confirm, please?
Yeah, am I the only one that cannot hear moderator very well, please? Just to okay, maybe they may not be in a position to speak. Let me check. Um, okay. Can you repeat it again, please? I didn't hear that question. This is turning into a business. I am here to learn about how we can bridge payment, especially. I hope presentation will start on cross-border. Okay. Yeah.
Prof,
Okay.
I'm back now. I
Yeah.
hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I was trying to point your attention to one of the questions in the Q&A, where someone mentioned about the what role does blockchain technology have to play in all of this. And I remember I've seen somewhere in your slide where you've mentioned the emerging trends, how things are changing, AI, the new technologies and all of that. So I know you mentioned it, but maybe you can just buttress that point in. We've come to a new era. We've come to a new place where, as you take your market to a new market, you take your product to a new market, apologies, you need to ensure that you back yourself up with the relevant tools that will make you scale in those environments. So blockchain technology, so much has been said about it. How would this be helpful to the entrepreneur or to the business trying to go across border? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Largely, just try to not get into too technical because I believe that not everyone here is super technical. But if you look at blockchain, there are so many advantages of using that. And a lot of young people are building solutions you can actually tap into that. The most exciting thing that we are seeing in Africa today is this whole construct of maybe even stable coins. Is picking up very, very well where people are building stable coins to make it easy that if you are running a business, you can actually use one currency in quotes. So you don't have to worry whether you are collecting from Ghana cedis, Kenyan shillings, or Nigerian naira. So imagine a scenario where InterSwitch has a stable coin and it goes to Security and Exchange Commission in Nigeria, and then through your blockchain integration with your solution, your customers all over Africa can actually trade on one currency, and that one currency is your stable coin. You peg it immediately to each of the local currencies. So that is a very huge promise. And there are also people working in agriculture. They are building their portals based on those blockchain. There are also people. But at the end of the day, the real deal is how do you really collect this money? How do you really make it easy for people to be paid and be paid easily? I think that is where the core innovation is. And whatever anybody is doing, is like, how can you be paid, especially within Africa? Because getting paid in America, getting paid in Europe, they even seem easier than somebody in Gabon or somebody in Angola paying a Nigerian business, and it's more difficult. So blockchain has an option if we can actually look at that part of stable coin, and that can help us to mitigate all those regulatory barriers that continue to make things very, very difficult for those products to do.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'll go straight to this other question from Angela, which is talking about in one of your slide, you had mentioned that challenges would always come as business, continue to innovate. So innovation will bring some new level of challenges. So Angela is asking that what is that best way to navigate those challenges that will come with introducing innovation? Because as you introduce new level of innovation, some new things will come. So Prof, what are those ways to avoid such challenges or navigate such challenges when you introduce innovation into your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say here, looking at it from the grand scheme of what we're discussing here, which is cross-border opportunity and business. I've tried to to just look at it from that angle. One of the best things you can do is actually when you are moving from your local economy or your local market into a new one, is to actually go with people who really understand that market. These are like people who understand that market you want to go. They will help you, at least to a large extent, eliminate most of the challenges that they can actually identify immediately. It's not a good thing just to go into a market immediately. You're having problems all over the place because you've not even done basic things you need to do to help you prevent them. Now, if there are problems, and it depends on the type of problem. It could be that there are people that have problems because customers need your products a lot. And if customers need your product a lot, it's a very good problem to have. And if you also become very successful, the regulators can also come after you. You know how we do it in Africa. Somebody leaves South Africa, he comes to Nigeria, he's doing very well. All of a sudden, and Nigeria goes into Ghana, the Ghanaians will say, hey, why is a Nigerian the one taking all our money? That is also where working with that partner who can actually help you insulate you from those challenges. I like to mention this angle of payments. Let's assume here, like, I have a business in Nigeria and I want to do business in Ghana. And let's say, or Uganda, I come to, let's say, InterSwitch. I receive payment from Ugandan customer. You do this treasury management. All I'm interested is you collect the money from me in their currency. You put it into an account wherever we have agreed on. I don't even need to think about it. All I just have to focus is how do I get more customers to buy my products and how do I keep expanding that? So that ability for SMEs or small businesses to have access to those kinds of opportunities will be very, very key. What we do have today is you need to be a medium scale business before some of these services are available. I mean, there are all these treasury management, cross-border payment collection. You need to be a medium-sized business before you can get companies that support it. But mainly small businesses who don't have a lot of those solutions. So if you can use a technology stack to help these companies to actually collect that payment, that will also be something that will help to mitigate whatever problem they have.
Thank you so much, Prof. Let me just go to this other question in the chat section. So I've seen this question around. Okay, so I probably would take this one last. So, but let me prepare your mind, Prof. It's about what's your advice to regulatory bodies and all of that. But so you can just keep that in mind. But let me quickly just go to this other ones. Okay. Stable coins. I'm a bit careful not to go to certain questions I know regulation does not support already, even though they may have a leeway in countries outside Nigeria, since we're talking about cross-border today. But how can we encourage, and sensitize the MSMEs, businesses to leverage, the PAPS network that we all know today, going from country to country, trying to interconnect all the countries together?
Yeah, so the PAPS is the Afro-Asian-Bank, or let me say continental framework, where we can have a Pan-African digital settlement.
We know for such. Yeah, Prof, please go ahead.
So I said that the PAPS is the payment settlement framework for Afro-Asian-Bank, and I would say at the continental level, that will make it possible for essentially, if you are a business person in Nigeria and you are selling to someone in Uganda, you will not even feel that that customer is paying you in Ugandan currency or pay somebody. It's like you have the Elon Musk Starlink. Somewhere the satellites are all revolving around you, but you don't have internet in your house. So that's the analogy I'll put. Whether you build PAPS or whatever, you still have to have the local connections that will enable websites to integrate into PAPS. So I would really say here is, it's not just telling the SMEs that we've got PABs. It's really the PABs working with local partners who already have connectivity or relationship with these SMEs, so that through those local partners, they can connect to PABs. I don't expect PABs to go to my village and help people there directly, but I expect PABs to work with some solution providers like microfinance, like InterSwitch, and others to now make it possible that those local businesses can receive payment from people in Ghana, people from Uganda. So I'll flip that question, that it is not really the local companies or the SMEs here, but it's really the PABs understanding that it cannot really have success without working with the local player. Just like Elon Musk satellites still need a damn part of it before you can make use of it for your internet browsing. So that's the way it should be. So, but I think they are getting started. Once they have finished their phase one or their phase two, the last phase will be the penetration of their technology. And that means we're expecting that if I go to Picteller, if I go to InterSwitch, if I go to other players, I can have an APL or that I will connect, that will now enable me to connect to that. And behind that, you guys will do what you guys do through your integration. But I think that should be the part. We can't expect PABs to do this directly because it does not have the capacity. It does not have the breadth. I mean, Africa is a continent of 54 something. I mean, how are you going to do that? So let's hope that they are coming to that playbook. And I think that will be a very positive thing for Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, some of the questions I've seen in the chats is also relating to this. And I think you've answered the question already. They are around the different currencies and in the different corridors in Africa, and the different exchange rates, how you move from Naira to Kenyan shillings to South African rands and all of that. So I think the response on the PABs connection has already addressed it. And players like InterSwitch, are well positioned to help the small businesses, take on that heavyweight and give them a simple connection to have their payment needs solved across the continent. By and large, I think we've addressed all the major questions. All other questions here, I think, are related questions that we can address privately. Verve is well positioned to also ensure all cross-border payments from a retail end, are also being facilitated. And that's why we have this masterclass, just to open the awareness of individuals and business owners of how to take your business across borders. We've seen the potential of what the Nigerian markets can offer, but we believe with Verve and InterSwitch, you can also go across border to open up new markets. You've seen when Prof mentioned the potential of what the likes of Alipay and all of that can do. We've also seen Amazon, Google, going across border to other markets now to pitch their tent. So we're encouraging business owners and all the entrepreneurs in Nigeria to also look at your strategy as you go into 2025. Look at the other things that you can explore outside Nigeria. And when it comes to the payment part of things, so think of InterSwitch as your partner to help you in the payment journey. The slides will be shared with you via the contact details that you've sent to us. We'll also share the recording with you after now, so you can listen to it again. We want to say...
let me also, I think I can see a question there. I think one of the participants was asking that maybe we got into more business this thing here than payment. I understand that the team is cross-border, but the specific focus is navigating new markets and connecting markets. So it's not just the team is cross-border, but we're not necessarily just speaking wholly on cross-border payments. So I don't know how that, because if you look at it, it's navigating new markets and connecting also markets. Yeah. So point here is, it's easy just to explain, okay, treasury management, but I believe that if you look at into the specific products, maybe let's look at InterSwitch, not just the Verve part, and you connect audits, you can actually get clarity, I think, at a personal level, how the company can help you do that. It's just going to be very difficult because every business has a unique need. So I would say maybe there will be a presentation where the company can share all its product suites so that you can see which one works for you. But I understand clearly that people want to see how they can collect money outside their territory. So I'm in Nigeria. I'm selling to people in Kenya, and they are going to pay me in Kenyan shilling. And there are also people I'm selling in Ghana. They'll pay me in Ghanaian cedi. How can I be paid? My understanding here is that if you register a company, I think that InterSwitch, for example, will require that you have a company registered in some of those jurisdictions, depending on the specific nature of that business. But if there are businesses where it may not be required, I mean, there are some types of businesses you may not need to register in Ghana for a payment company to help you receive payment. But there are some business types that you must be expected to register before InterSwitch allow you to integrate into their platform. So for instance, you want to run an e-commerce business in Ghana, and you have a very full operation. There is no way you can do that in Ghana without registering with the government. It's only through the registration of the government that a payment company will now allow you to now register. And if you want to now do that treasury management, they pay in Kenyan shilling. You want that money converted immediately, either to dollar or to Nigerian naira, those things could be done. But I think those things need to be handled on a company by company because your business needs cannot necessarily be universal. And the way you manage your treasury cannot. And I also say here humbly that if you look at what MultiChoice has gone through, I mean, you realize this is a very complicated thing that cannot be simplified. so don't think that it's just so simple that you put in a that's why you need to speak with experts who actually can guide you looking at the seasonal cyclical nature of your business to know whether keeping that money in that local currency is even better than converting it and now reconverting it where you need it. So you need to be nuanced about this instead of just thinking what works for my friend is certainly what is going to work for me. And that's the reason why I don't want to get into the specific because no business is the same and you have to have a tailored solution if you really want to get this in right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me pull you to this question, if you don't mind.
Please go ahead. We still have time here. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So you've mentioned about how our products and services, should be ready for, those new markets where we are going to, and also how we should also, as based on the currency volatility that we see in Nigeria today, that if we can earn in dollars, it will be better. So to the business owners on the call today in this masterclass, whilst they're still looking at Nigeria, seems to be the base for a lot of people, and they're taking that business across border from here. Do you have any idea of how the Nigerian economy is going to rebound? I know you don't sit in the Economic Council or any of the governments. You don't have any of those responsibilities. But
yeah.
when you see it, maybe just someone asked that question. So if you have any idea.
Yeah. You see, if you look at the fundamental data about Nigeria, there's just no way not to be optimistic. I mean, when you have 200 and something million people, they are going to be there. I am a very big optimist that nations rarely caput. Nations rarely fail. There is no history where you suddenly see countries disappear. The richest man in Mexico, Carlos Slim, during the ruins of the pesos, the Mexican currency in early 1980s, the father told him, hey, son, go into the market, buy anything you see. Mexico will be back one day. And you know what? The young Carlos Slim started buying. He bought everything. And he's the richest man in Mexico. That if you are born, you're most likely going to start with his products until the day you go to heaven. So that's it. Look at John Templeton, the stock picker of the 20th century. When the Second World War was just kicking up, everyone was selling shares, selling and liquidating in New York Stock Exchange. The man just said, okay, I'll wait for it to fall below $1, I'll buy. He bought. He became a billionaire and was regarded as a stock picker of the 20th century. So my point is this: Nigeria will always be. In short, there is even a new company we are registering this week from CAC. We have so much confidence in the country, and we will fund startups through Tequila Capital. So, but the difference here is you really need to understand the drivers. You know, I didn't go in. That's what I call the smiley curve. If you look at a curve, it looks like a smiley face. At the edges are companies. At the middle are also companies. The vertical axis of the smiley curve is value. The question in Nigeria is, are you operating at the edges or are you operating at the center? In a smiley curve, if you operate at the center, the value you capture will be very low. But if you operate at the edges, where vertical axis is actually value, you're going to capture a lot of value. People are still declaring billions of profit in Nigeria because they have figured out where they position their companies. And by positioning their companies at the edges, they can capture a lot of value. So don't think that things are really, really bad. I mean, we have a startup that's been doubling revenue every 3 months because everything happening in Nigeria is just working for it. And I mean, I wish I can show you here. One, I can mention, the shop through. They have, if you want to order shoes through shop through now, they say they can't meet the quantity of orders that are coming. They have stopped taking orders. I was talking to the guy. I said, I don't want to hear that. He said, please, there's no way. The point I'm making here, people have stopped buying Italian shoes. They've stopped buying, is it Louis Vuitton they call it? They are now buying Abba and Onitsha and Kanu. And those are opportunities. And I know people that have moved into helping to make those shoes. And it's a very big business. So the point is not being fixated on everything is falling apart. The issue is that what is your positioning in that smiling curve? Do you need to shift where you were to now get in? I'm not saying that things are not bad. I don't want anybody to misquote me. Things are very bad. But the point I'm making here is it is bad, but that does not mean that we don't have opportunity because 200 million people are still there. In short, one of our businesses, people have stopped taking all these foreign courses. So we're having more students coming to our program because they don't have dollar to pay. and now, what is it not to like about it? So just to tell this, don't be too fixated on things you can't control. The real deal is, what is your skill? What is your capability? What is your talent? What is it that you can influence? And that influence does not mean that wasting time what Abuja should do or what your state capital can do. It's what you yourself can do. And if you focus on that and try to build a little bit of an edge, you find a solution. And that edge could mean, okay, I'm offering an online course to my friends and people who know me. I am a financial expert, and if you just pay 20,000 naira, you can attend in a weekend. Now, you see that, okay, what do? They just record the course. You say, okay, my own will be live so that they can have an opportunity of asking questions. By offering that live option, you have made redundant all the American versions on the internet because they don't have a live section where people can ask questions. That creates a separation and a differentiation for you. I want to challenge every one of us that Nigeria remains a land of opportunity because there are 200 and something million people there. But we need to reinvent our products and services to fit into the new realities of the market. That what worked 2 years ago may not be relevant today. But that does not mean that that product has expired. You just have to reinvent it. It could be the way you price. If you see, I'm an apostle of sachetization. I don't price any product in lumps in Nigeria. You may see one product. Do you want to attend course here? Do you want us to grade it? No, you pay for attending. If you want grade, you pay. Do you want to do practical? No. By the time you strategize it, people can come at their point of entry because that's what their pockets. But if you lump everything, you can price people out of your range. So talk to your friend who understands pricing or who understands business, and their friend may say, pay me 15,000 naira for a day consultation. That money, if you get the right person, may be worth it. You know, we need to use experts. And also, I believe that the InterSwitch has a consulting or support unit where some promising companies can schedule a time, talk to say, please, my business is growing. I want to go to Ghana, but I don't know where to start. It may not really be a payment trend now. It's really, how do I even go to Ghana? So InterSwitch said, okay, give us some time. Let's talk to our partners. They do a survey, check whether what you have makes sense. Of course, if that works, InterSwitch is going to get your customer that will on board to collect payment. By the time that is done, you get into Ghana to make more profit. They have a new customer in Ghana. We need to ask some of those questions, and because that's what some of these companies are built for that. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm still here. We still have time. If there are still people that have questions, please.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me just attempt this question from
Okay.
Contact James. So there's a fine line between the corporate interest and also the regulatory requirements or framework in certain corridors. Coming into Nigeria, you will meet a different regulatory framework. If you go to Kenya or Ghana, you meet something totally different. Some other regions within Africa have also formed some sort of block where to penetrate one, you need to either understand the regulatory framework around that entire block in itself. So that for some businesses, they are trying to reconcile that gap between, okay, we are really interested as a company to go there. So these are an entrepreneur writing here. But when they look at all those other regulatory requirements and framework around some of those blocks and countries, they might as well just think maybe we are better off in Nigeria. But the Nigerian market is getting saturated. This is 200 million people. Ideas are coming every day. You just need to start, and you see 3 or 4 that people want to copy what you're doing. So how do we reconcile? We have that interest to go to North Africa, to South Africa, East Africa, and some other area. But the regulatory framework in those locations are also a lot of heavy weights to carry. You've mentioned Ghana as a case in sight. I have to register in Ghana. I have to register in South Africa. Can I operate the AliExpress model where I can just ship out from China and deliver to my customers in Africa without me having any contractual arrangement and all that?
Very, very great point. Yeah, I think this question is really maybe to companies like InterSwitch, because the reason why AliExpress does what it does is you actually make effort from Nigeria or any part of the world to pay them in China. So they don't have to open a payment outlet or vehicle in Nigeria or Burundi or Botswana to be paid. So if there is now a process where somebody, maybe in Ghana or somebody in South Africa, can pay through InterSwitch, for example, and then once that payment is concluded, that person can ship, that will solve that problem. I wouldn't even recommend people getting cross-border just for cross-border sake. One of the most difficult places to do business in Africa South Africa is not easy. South
Hmm.
Africa is extremely very, even registering a company in South Africa as a foreigner, you need to have a truckload of money to go through, and they wouldn't even allow you to become a majority shareholder, meaning that a native or a citizen in South Africa has to own majority of that company. It's not an easy thing to do. Also, the competition there is supremely challenging compared to what we have in Nigeria. The same thing with North Africa. Like I always tell people, you are in Lagos and you are now trying to go to Uganda. Have you gone to Onitsha? Have you gone to Kano? That the economy of Kano is bigger than some of this economy. Do you know that Lagos economy is bigger than the economy of Kenya or maybe in Ghana? So the point is, some people are expanding just for the expansion of pride. I want to say I'm in 5 countries. I want to say I'm in 10 countries. Whereas when you look at it realistically, he's in Lagos, he's in Abuja, he's in Port Harcourt. Those are the typical. The guy is not in Ibadan. He's supporting Ibadan from Lagos. And somehow he's not in Onitsha. He's not in Kaduna. He's not in Kano. He's not in Onitsha. Why are you wasting time going to Ghana? Because, I mean, Ghana's economy, I don't know the GDP, is it 40 billion or whatever, maybe 30 something or so, which is as big as just, by the time you explore opportunities on Kigwe, on Itaba, you have a better economy that is bigger than some of those economies. So the point is, you don't have to go to Cairo to go and waste money for 3 years and come back empty-handed. When you have not conquered Medugri or you've not looked at opportunities in Ghana, it comes down to humility and not just expanding for the sake of, I want to appear on the press, the bloggers. They will say, okay, they're expanding it. You know, that's the reason why some of these young men, they just want to say they're expanding. I mean, we fund all these startups. One of the challenges we have is that we try to tell them, man, cool down. This is not a contest. This is business. That's what are you going to do in Morocco? They have not done. And in Nigeria, where you are, what is your position? So I believe what you said about AliExpress is actually the solution everyone has been asking. I don't need to register in a small market like Rwanda to go and serve the Rwanda market. But I want to serve Rwandans through my platform, but somebody has to collect that money from me. And how you collect it, I don't necessarily need to care. All I just need to do, my website will support them to pay, and you handle that for me. If we can have that, that's what AliExpress does. But I'm not also saying that it's easy for you, because by the time you start collecting that, there will be exposures on fees that at the end of the day, how many people are really paying from Rwanda? Maybe you are collecting $10 million and you look at your profits, maybe it could come down to maybe 200,000 at the time. Man, this is a lot of work. Let's not support everyone. But that's really what people respect. Ability for a payment company to connect all the markets in Africa without people having to physically go and register companies because of regulatory problems, which nobody really wants to deal with. If we do that, I think we're going to have a great, massive opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me see. I've seen some hands raised. Maybe I'll just take a few of them.
Please go ahead.
Let me take Rogers. Rogers, if you're you can go ahead to speak now.
Yeah, Rogers, go ahead, please. Okay, go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Rogers. Yes.
Okay, Prof, thank you. And thank you so much for the organizers. I think my question is more around for young or aspiring innovators, especially in a politically and legally constrained environment like Nigeria. One, how do you navigate your innovation idea or your innovation, your business product, when, for instance, there are policies restricting such businesses? That's one. Two, how do you how do you navigate an environment that is highly saturated with distrust because of cultural and ethnic challenges, where young people cannot come together because of distrust, because of experiences as what has happened? Yeah, I'm asking this question because these are some of the challenges where a couple of friends we've tried to come together and we see this practically happening. So, Prof, I don't know how one can really navigate these challenges, leveraging this payment and cross-border opportunities that InterSwitch has come up with. Thank you, and over. Sorry for the noise.
No problem. We need them. That's the future of the country, and they say that, so it's fine. So I would say here, I don't really think there is anything different from what we are seeing in Africa. Young people do come together. I think the challenge there is having an understanding that starting a business is not a vacation job. One of the illusions people do have is that, oh, if I start my own business, I can have more time, go for one vacation. I can wake up when I want to wake up, sleep. The funny thing there is that you have a better chance of actually waking up when you work for another person. When you work for yourself, it's a high intensity job. It's not an easy thing. To be an entrepreneur, I mean, really, you want to be successful. It's cause that you don't have a life. I mean, if you used to go every Saturday for village meeting, now you realize there are things that must be done before Monday. If you don't do those things, nobody will do. But if you are working in a big manufacturing multinational company, hey, I mean, it's my weekend, and it's my weekend. So the point is, if people don't understand that, and you are forming alliances with them, when they now see the real picture, what it takes to build a business, you know what happens? That's where that distrust, oh, I didn't know it was this bad. But if you understand that building a business, sometimes you just have to forget yourself. And that's the key thing. Now, as I tried to do this presentation, one of the key things I wanted to pass across, I said, let's go through building great products. If you build great products, you can now connect into the market with a payment partner. The problem here is thinking that just having that cross-border opportunity is the only thing that will make you successful without having a product. If you try to do that, you will not be successful. So I have tried not to give a lot of names here, but look at Jumia example. There was a time they were about, was it more than 20-something countries? I'm not sure they are even up to 13 now. They were just opening new countries and opening new countries and opening new countries and opening new countries. But now what they are doing, they are exiting those countries. That is the point I'm trying to make here. That just entering new countries and doing cross-border, yeah, it sounds good. You can have the boss within a month or two. But at the end of the day, what will make you successful is ability for whatever you are producing for customers to buy. You've launched and got the ribbon, but the next day are the customers coming. So if you put more efforts on trying to get a product market fit, you see, people like say, why is InterSwitch not in 54 countries in Africa? I mean, I get that question a lot in a Tekidia Mini MBA. I get it every time. That's somebody will say, here, I'm here, and there, why have they not opened? Because we have a lot of cases with the InterSwitch. So I said, hey, we have to be very, very humble to understand that these are smart people. They have looked at all the indicators and they just realize, if I go to this market, it could just be wasting time. Whereas, if I can add Umuahia and make sure everyone in Umuahia is using Verve, that's even a better business than going there to waste. So you just realize that, let's assume they are not in Burundi. How many people are in Burundi? They are not in Togo. I mean, Togo is, but the Republic is about 9 million people or so. Togo, sorry, I think Togo is about 9 to 10 million people. And I mean, that's like, I mean, Cross River and Akwa Ibom. And people on Akwa Ibom and Cross River may even have more money to spend though, because they need to buy makeup, they need to buy Nkwobi and so. So you just focus on Nigeria and you can actually be very, very successful. So the point is people need to understand that business It's not a vacation job. So that when they come together and say they want to do it, they need to commit to those sacrifices that must be made. You cannot be running a company as an entrepreneur without making sacrifices on your weekends, on your spare time, because you don't have a spare time. The business now is you. Because that's, if you don't have the product ready, nobody will buy it. That perception must be fixed. And if you do that, people, let's look at some of these great founders that we talk about. You know, somebody may be in Harvard and you drop out. Will your mother allow that to happen in Nigeria? Will your father allow that? I mean, I won't want my son to drop out of MIT. But what he's telling you here, there are personal sacrifices behind these great visions that we all of us celebrate. And I mean, let's say when InterSwitch was also started, somebody must have resigned his job. What if the thing didn't work? You know, Amazon Bezos was working in an investment bank in New York. The father told him, man, you are really stupid to be leaving a job that was paying you $450,000 to be selling toys online. How will you feel? Instead of waiting to collect $450 every year, you are going to be selling toys, delivering. When a mother buys a toy of $1, you have to drive your car to go and deliver it so that you. That's how the guy started. So that is where the missing link. People don't know what it takes to build. It's tough. So go ahead, please.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. These are very. Let me see if I can call Sam Edem. Sam, if you're still available to ask your question. I'm just checking if Sam is still there.
I'm available. Please, could you hear me now?
Yes, Sam, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, I want to thank Verve International for putting this together, and to especially thank Professor Ndubisi for always giving out value. I mean, I follow you on your LinkedIn, and I think this is like the second virtual event I've attended, where you are the lead facilitator. My question is very simple. I am a Nigerian, but I'm in the diaspora, and I'm trying to build businesses from Nigeria, right? And I listened to the illustration you made about maximizing the market opportunity within Nigeria, right? So instead of having to move to Togo, Burundi, you see how you move from Anambra to Akwa Ibom, you know, or Lagos and Abuja. But sometimes, what would you say for a business? For instance, my startup, we're involved with, we deliver writing solutions, all right, writing and research solutions for professionals and businesses. And frankly, our target customers are not necessarily within Nigeria. So what would you tell an entrepreneur like me, not just for my existing business, maybe for the next thing I want to launch? What would you say about the constraints with payments in Nigeria, receiving payments? I mean, I was surprised by some of the things I heard in the course of this masterclass, because generally the major bank payment platforms as Verve International or InterSwitch often appear to us starters as, I mean, more or less like you guys are focused on the big guys. So we are not necessarily your target, or we are not worth your attention, especially at those of us at very early stages of our businesses. So So I was surprised that you have something for us, and I intend to follow up on that. So,
Yeah.
Prof, what do you say about those constraints? If,
Yeah.
for instance, you have a business registered in Ghana, all right, let's not look at the population. You have a registered business in Ghana, regardless of whatever arrangement. Maybe you have a local as a major partner, but you have a business registered. You can literally open a corporate account in 10 minutes maximum. That means there are internet issues, but it would take you no less than 3 to 6 months to have your account a digital account. With all the digital functionalities activated in some major banks in Nigeria. I don't want to mention names. And I think that's terrible. If I don't have to share personal
I think
experience, but
I get your point. Yeah.
we've
I get
lost
your point.
money as a business. So what do you say about that? Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
but the reality here, you don't even need, you don't need to think too deep into the fact that maybe some of the big banks, maybe they are not delivering value the way we would have expected. The issue there is really focusing on what you said. Maybe companies are focusing on medium to large scale enterprises. How can they also serve smaller businesses that are just started? It's a very difficult question because businesses are not charities. Let me give an example. There is a reason why possibly there is no bank in your village. I don't know where you're from, provided you're not from Lagos or from Abuja or maybe Port Harcourt is metropolis. If you are from the rural areas, it's tendency that you may not have. In that discussion, I noticed something I call marginal cost, which is basically looking at cost or to an additional user customer. Banks ideally should be everywhere to serve any, but unfortunately, the cost of doing that is high. And there are many reasons. If you set off a bank, you have to have a power water board, you have to open a borehole, you have to have a small electricity authority, you have to have your own generator. You also have to have your own national defense, which is your guard. By the time a company replicates all those things, you know what happens? The cost of adding an additional infrastructure to support customers will begin to. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, these customers, they come, at the end of the day, they do $600 equivalent in a month. And I'm spending $700 to support them. I don't want them. Because the minimum this thing I need to break even serving this customer is $2,000 equivalent of total average this thing in a month. So they begin to win them. But if there is a platform of commerce, just like I noted, where the US Postal Service runs at a loss, their train stations run at a loss, they just make things easy for businesses to operate, you will realize that that 2,000 can drop to 400, and they can now serve those small businesses that are already doing 600. I don't know if you're following me, Sam. So if you go to Ghana, things are way better in terms of power and so many things. But when you come to Nigeria, the cost becomes a little higher. So the average cost you need to keep a customer at a profitable level, minimum level, Nigeria has one of the highest in Africa. I mean, please, this is not a political, we are discussing business here. This is not a political thing. Because of that, businesses have to segment that once you get to this level, it doesn't really make sense. In taking that, we have this data that if a customer falls outside $4 to $8 per month, that you are actually, if it's below $4 per month, the customer that does not make up to $4 per month may be a very just a waste of time on that B2C market. That the best customer in a Gaussian distributed this thing is between $4 to $8 per day income in Nigeria. Now, like when you look at ShopRite and Co., when they started, they needed customers around range of $12, $16 per day. But when the Naira was floated and many subsidy, that range shrank. And unfortunately, they cannot have enough customer like that Pick and Pay to support those customers. So the issue is not just the businesses. So I want to defend them in their absence. The issue there is that the threshold you need to have a profitable customer in Nigeria is very high because you have to provide so many things business typically are not really expected to provide. The guard, the security, the water, the generator, the bad roads. By the time you compound all of them, this guy will say, I don't want anybody that does not have 2,000 Naira in this bank because they're just wasting my time. I can't make money ever on them. But any day they break through, all of us will go and pursue them to see that they come and work with us. That is what is happening. And that is why it seems that to a large extent, many people are left behind. And that is also the challenge, like we're having this masterclass here. Is there a way companies like InterSwitch can create a product that will be AI powered to the extent that will be minimal human support so that even though they need you to have $2,000 processing TPU, if you are doing maybe 600, let's assume their technology can support you profitably without costing them money. If that is where the whole thing falls. And it's not just only the banking sector, it's practically in every sector now because of you don't want to be so busy at the end of the day, you're just wasting and losing money. Look at the microfinance banks in Nigeria. How many of them are still operating? That used to be a time every major city in Onitsha at least had most of them have collapsed. Because making money from poor people in quote, is one of the most difficult things in the world. I'm telling you, making money from poor people, I mean, I'm using that word poor with all due respect, it's tough. Then how are you going to make money from somebody who earns 70,000 Naira in a month? And he says your customer as a bank? Will you ever make money from that customer? I can tell you that you support that customer for the next 10 years, you will never make a single dime of profit. So unless you are running a social service, there is just no headway for you to do that. And then some banks will now, unfortunately, make it nearly impossible for those customers to feel that they belong because they are thinking from there is really no money to be made. I mean, that's a hard way of looking at it, but that is also a business decision. So they will prefer to dance to the guy who has 20 million Naira and do everything he wants than to go and look for that person that is earning 30,000 Naira a month because they don't just see any value. And that's also what happens on payment. Because if that payment doesn't go through, because that guy doesn't have money in that account, the switch must have charged that payment processor. And that money is irreversible, whether it goes through or not. And by the time the guy has made 10 of those payments that didn't go through, you are just accumulating fees without getting any value. What do? You just block the guy. Moderator, I hope, I mean, I would like your perspective on this, if it's also possible.
Thank you so much, Prof. So I was going to pick up on the conversation that you just ended. So today, InterSwitch already has a model in this direction. We have a business in InterSwitch called the Cystigraph business. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't care about this business, but this business is the backbone of OPay out there in the market today. So because most of these new banks don't have the infrastructure and the kind of structure they run are very lean structure. They don't have data center and all of that. all the heavy lifting commercial banks operate today, we have a replica of it here at InterSwitch, where you as a new bank, a fintech, you can plug into it and you can have transfers, bill payments, card, we have a card management system that hosts all of our cards and all that. And the likes of OPay and Co, there are millions of cards on that platform today. And they're doing, business out there. So we already understand that model where we build a solution, a multi-tenant platform, and allow people trying to go to new markets plug into it, and they can ride at the back of that to provide that service because with this question you've answered, Sam, Sam, you don't need to do the heavy lifting. You can check with InterSwitch to look at what we have already built. If some of those products and services can address those new markets where you're going into. In the light of this conversation that we're having around cross-border, peradventure, you're looking at some markets where we already exist, or you're looking at markets where you think you really don't need to go in there to build a fiscal. Like Prof said, it's going into Africa is not just for going sake. You don't just want to be there to say you have 27 countries presence, but you want to be there to be profitable. So what other areas, what other ways can you go in to ensure that you are going in profitably? And I've mentioned one of such businesses that we do today. We have a multi-tenant platform that is hosting over close to 150 MFBs. Not all the MFBs can build capacity to build data center and all of that. But we have that platform where card hosting, FEP, processing services, switching, and all of that is happening today. And it makes the journey easier. To show you the capacity of what that platform can offer, OPay is a clear example that is out there riding on those services today. And we can all attest to what their market share, our market cap look like today, and the impact they have also created. Thank you so much, Prof. Quickly, I think we're going to take two more hands. I'll just
so hold on. So this is like a fintech as a service, right? That's fintech as a service. Okay, great. And it's available mainly right now in Nigeria, or because what Sam is asking here, he's somewhere outside Nigeria, and he wants maybe integrate into that API or whatever. Is it offered outside Nigeria or just only within Nigeria?
Today, we have it in Nigeria, but this use case for cross-border has come very strong. So we'll probably be checking with regulation in the different corridors where we're going to. But it's a service that is available in the cloud, so we literally can take it anywhere.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Go ahead with the next question, please. Thanks.
All right. So I'll take the last three hands I have seen here: David, John, and Orofe Ayola. So, David, I'm coming to you now. Please go ahead and speak to us.
Yes, Prof. Good morning, Prof.
Yeah, good morning, David. How are you in Kenya?
I'm good. I tried to partner with InterSwitch so many years back, and I think the banking as a service, core banking as a service, I think it is the foundation to enable cross-border payments. Because the real challenge is, and that's the question really is about investment. How can payment companies really leverage the numbers? Numbers are really good now, because India today has more than close to almost 1 billion people using cards. And so some of the very solid technologies, that will permit AI to function within payment will only come when those numbers are really good, especially with cards. Cards are the fastest means of payment, and cross-border payment security, on cards are way better because of, the history of fraud and everything. So, Prof, what advice do you give companies like InterSwitch in ensuring that they use the numbers they have to raise enough money to do this banking as a this core banking as a service across different countries, so that people can just plug and play. And then they leverage on solid schemes like those of the Europeans and Americans that have history of fraud, and then the AI aspect, which really manages if it's a payment for physical goods. Those are all things we've not even started, because of the fraud that is in it and everything. So those are the things. I think it's more of an investment issue, and the numbers are coming up now very well. So how do they leverage on that to make sure that they are within? Nobody wants to do core banking things. You see, we just want to plug and play.
Yeah, you know that fintech as a service is different from banking as a service. Banking as a service opens a new regulatory layer, because now, if you are a bank, you are now collecting money from customers, and you have to be responsible to make sure when they want their money, they get it back. It's not an easy thing for you to, let's say, stay in Nigeria, you open up banking as a service, let's say, in Uganda, and you are running a remote banking operations through a fintech or one company. You don't even know the guy who is behind it. It may be a very huge risk vector, because the ordinance which governs banking is totally different from the one which governs, quote, fintech. And of course, they have smarter people, they will evaluate it. But looking at what is happening in the United States, 3 years ago, if you needed a banking as a service license, within a week, you get it. Today, even if you have $10 million, nobody will give it to you. The reason being that many of these entities have struggled, like Synapse, which was backed by Y Combinator. I think it went down with millions of dollars of people's money trapped. Because at the end of the day, there is a bank that is powering this Synapse, but Synapse went down. Customers cannot have access to their money because the bank that was sponsoring it does not have a means. I mean, it's so crazy. And it's even getting to the level of the US Congress asking, get these customers their phone. It's been about 6-7 months now, nobody has received money. So the idea that you can sit down in Nigeria, power a remote banking operations in Ghana, where somebody runs that bank, is something that is totally different. But fintech, which is payment and processing, is transactional. Once you initiate a transfer, it gets to the destination, that ends it. Unlike banking, which is relational. Once that person drops the money, that's when the relationship ends. And I'm telling you, if I'm investing in a startup, I will shine my eyes before I give that bank money, because it doesn't end in 1 hour or 1 day. This one can now end in decades, because that guy may just decide not to take that money back. And you still have to be responsible 10 years to keep it. So that's why it's a little difficult. But it will be easier, answering here, if there is a continental African supranational bank under a unified African kind of monetary policy, so that when you register one bank, it can operate in every ordinance where that bank can, like they have in the European Union, where they have one European central bank or whatever they call it. You have a better chance. But in Africa today, it would be a very huge risk for anybody to try that, because many bad things can actually happen. What do you say, Bjorn? I think
correct, sir. Absolutely, because across different corridors, different policies, and because some of these policies are also not, consistent across political lines. So a lot is, I mean, the risk management framework that guides operations in different countries, need to be taken carefully. Like what you said, a lot of companies have not gone to different corridors in Africa, not because they don't have the capacity to do so, but haven't done their assessment of each country. You've looked at the risk of going there to operate and what could likely go wrong. You just want to keep things in a very, very conservative manner. Prof, let me just take the last hand from Ayola Oreofe then we would hand back to you for your closing remarks as we go. Orafe Ayola, please quickly, if you can do this in just a minute or two, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Avian. Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. My brother is part of your venture capitalist community, Peter Ayola. So my name is Orafe Ayola. I'm a software engineer. All right. So I have mentors in industry. If I mention names, you know, chairman of Kuda Bank and a friend in Search and Pay. The CEO is my friend. So I'm looking at these resources. I'm looking to solve a problem for finance for women. So there was a time my friend was asking me about where they can get money. Like people keep on asking me financial questions. So I became very worried that and I'm someone that I actually want to do. So my business is that I'm actually on my SWOT analysis at this time. So I'm looking at lending, savings, investment, and contactless payment. But and also create that platform where a younger woman is coming up like mentorship ladder, and also give also women who has a lot of money to actually also look at venture capitalism. If they're not the one doing the business, they can actually invest in some others coming up. So bringing a lot of obscurity, giving them a voice, like also women to have, because a lot of women are, even the so-called wealthy women, they don't know actually to manage their finances, also allowing them to invest in US stocks. So all this on my head, like, and all surrounded by, I see human people surrounding me as a lot of all big bang of resources, and with my skills, I'm like, let's solve a problem. And I just heard you now. You said looking at clients, because we're trying to help people to come out. Of course, it's not actually a social service per se, but of course, there'll be a part that would cater for financial education and all of that. But we're trying to look at the career and the women entrepreneurs who have viable cash flows and so I also ask her, so what USP? What USP? What can I look at? And you also said that about moving. You actually piqued my heart that don't try to move into another country or try to go to Ghana or try to stay where you are. The problem, the money, the value, the market you're looking to serve is right there where you are. I'm actually in Lagos, so I'm not looking. So, sir, sir, what USP can you say I should focus on? What gap on this? What I've explained so far? How can you merge all of what I'm saying together? Like the mentors, people surrounding me right now, the people are. So how can I do this all arranged together?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So, great points. One of the things I would say here is this. You don't have to overthink some of these solution spaces. Bitmama, we've invested in Bitmama. We have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in that business. And how Ruth started was she had a WhatsApp group where people could trade and buy crypto. And all of a sudden, she saw that a lot of people were actually buying and doing this. She now had a website. From that, she now started a subsidiary called Chenjira, which will enable people that want to pay importers all over the world. What I would say here, don't wait until you have all the pieces together in a very big way. You could just, some of those women, some of them may need 5,000 naira, they may need 2,000 naira, maybe 10,000. If you have a WhatsApp group, you can even use a piece of paper. You don't even need a website, really. You are able to record and show a little bit of traction that maybe over 6 months, 10 women came and the 50,000 naira I had, I gave this woman 5,000. At the end of the month, she came back with the 5,000 and also added 500, whatever this. And I have been doing this. Now, if you take it to an investor, you say, okay, so they are actually paying. And okay, that means for you to make this thing work, you need some fund to go and build a website. You need a fund to go and hire people. Yeah. What I'm trying to say that at where we are most times, we can actually get started. The problem is thinking that if you have to have a lot of funds to actually demonstrate the viability of that. This is the magic of this thing called fintech or financial services. If you are in their space of lending, micro lending, if in that space of saving, at the beginning, it's really about you. The product is you. Forget about all those fancy logos and websites. At the early stage investing, what the investors are looking, they're looking for one thing. Who is the product? And it turns out that it's you. And there are a lot of biases. And those biases are based on the fact that nobody cares about what you are building. People are really interested to know who is that particular person. So you will see that an idea you pitch to an investor, the investor passed. Another person comes with the same idea, investor invested it. Why? Because the other person has built what I've called ITT, integrity, trust, tenacity, capital, which basically says, look at this person that has integrity, that can give this money, and look at this person, I can trust this person. And I also think that when I'm sleeping, this person is working, because I'm giving money, should work harder than me. Otherwise, I will manage my money myself. But since I believe you are smarter, you are better, you have to return better returns than I can manage. That's why I'm investing in you. So embodiment of those things will now make an investor to say, under your care, this money has a higher chance of bringing more value than what myself under my own care. So I will now give it to you. So in simple terms, you have to prove, even in the simplest way, that you qualify for that fund. And I can tell you, if you have 500,000 or 200,000, that should be enough for you to actually demonstrate that it's value there. The challenge is people would like to see, I want to raise big money before they start. No, that's it. So I'll give you a result. Let me close with this. When we started Tekidia PDMBA, it was a WordPress page, a face group. There was nothing. And you know what? The citizens of our beautiful country, they didn't even care. They were coming for the course and the videos. And somebody said, so I said, yeah, I was in the airport at the VIP lounge in Abuja. I created it. By the time I landed, about 200 and something people are registered. And I said, what? Just a page. It was now when we saw there was value. That's when we now started talking about how do we make it decent. That is how the best ideas start. You don't focus on the money. Focus on the position you are and what can you use to show a little traction. This thing called traction changes everything up. And it doesn't have to be so big. It's just to show that you actually understand what you are getting into. And you are reducing the inertia, which the investor has to overcome to give you money. Like in the Root case, she said, I have all these WhatsApp group. I just need money to support more people. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think we just need to close now, but I think John, if I can find John somewhere, John did mention that he had something to put across, and I've asked for this to happen in 2 minutes. Let me just look for John quickly. John, if you're there, John Aniropi. John, please, if you can raise your hands so that we can unmute you quickly. Okay, John. Okay, John, so please go ahead. John, please, can you go ahead now? Okay, yes, I can. John, you have a minute to close now.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm John. I work in the insurance industry. Basically, the insurance broking sector. A lot of time, fintech, just like industry, they pay attention to the insurance company. But the real truth is that
Moderator, I think his network is very bad. I don't know whether it's really.
John, the connection is not so clear. Do you want to? It's really. It's struggling. So I'm not sure. I thought it was just from my end, but I'm not sure Prof can hear you clearly as well. John, can you speak? Let's see if it's better.
No, we cannot hear him.
No, it's not. John, you know what? You can send a mail to us.
Yeah.
We'll share with Prof, and I can promise you that you will get a response. I'll
No
drop
problem.
our email. Yes, I'll drop our email in the chat. Please do send us a mail. We would share that email with Prof, and you would definitely get a response.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for your understanding.
Yeah.
All right. Prof, thank you so much for making our time. Prof, you have the floor to just give the closing remark of this masterclass. This has been brought courtesy of Verve, and we were encouraging individuals and entrepreneurs and businesses to look at the opportunities around the cross-border space. However, Prof has come with this masterclass, and each of the segments you heard, was something detailed by Prof in his playbook. More of this you will see if you engage further. But let me allow Prof give the closing remark as we close the session for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And gentlemen and ladies, it's been a very, very wonderful 3 hours that we have all come here to co-learn together. Thank you for making time. So generally, within the whole context of broad payment and broad cross-border opportunity, the key thing here is when you are going, make sure you have your products ready, and also work with a payment partner because you are going to go outside the national boundary where that business is started. The world is full of abundance. There are a lot of opportunities. But don't also forget that most times, just like the book, The Acres of Diamond, the man went out to start looking for diamond all over the world without knowing that where he was actually living, the underneath was actually diamond. So we need to make sure that the opportunities that technology companies like Verve has offered, you just look at the fact that with their card, you don't have to deal with some of these issues with the international ones. That's the only one I use when I come to Nigeria because it's really interesting. What do I need all these foreign cards if you're not traveling? It's interesting, really. Somebody doesn't even have an international passport. And he's asking for maybe for visitor. I said, man, you don't have an international passport. We can ever use it. So I asked my bank, I said, why are you asking me for that option? Have you asked me whether I have an international passport? Because why do you really need all these foreign cards when you don't travel? And you're paying higher fees through the Nigerian. So the real deal is let's go local and let's also expand. Thank you so much, InterSwitch Valve, for the opportunity. And thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for spending your great weekend with us. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for coming. We hope to see you again at our next masterclass, courtesy Verve. So we continue to bring you something that would help your businesses grow. And please make sure you get a Verve card out there if you don't have one yet. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.